John, what are you doing? John, I'm pleased you're on here. Hope you're okay. I did send you a message earlier. Yeah, okay. Yeah, got your WhatsApp now. Yeah, okay. I'm glad you're okay. Um, right, Wolfgang, you little beauty. Yes, morning. Um, those that weren't just on that live, were you on there, Marcus? How you doing? Um, were you just on that live call because I shared a couple of things? One about an unusual action and how to help people and stuff. Were there any questions? Okay, so Wolfgang, any questions from that call? Because it's not taboo, but I often think that we don't talk about that stuff. Wolfgang, yeah, front arm action is too early. Yeah, it goes up instead of keeping him forwards. Yeah. Is it also fair to say that his front arm action is too early? Yeah, maybe. Although, when we had a look at his action from side on, his load up actually, in terms of the timing of it, I don't actually think it was far off. I just think his issue was because he was going up. So his front arm action, I always quite like forwards and then up, but he was literally just going up. And I actually think that a lot of it was caused just by the low intensity of everything, and everything was going up instead of going forwards. But you might be right. No, his front arm definitely wasn't pulled through. Yeah, you're right. It's difficult when there's not a lot of energy moving forward. You can't really pull that front arm in, and I really like a front arm that is kind of pulled in as opposed to down. Because he was going up, everything was going down, and I just feel that everything was going that way. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, so off track, yeah, absolutely. I've worked with two bowlers that throw it, and it's really hard to understand what's going on and how to fix it. Happy to help, Mick. Seemed to do. I also felt the sidearm was better timing. Yeah, one thing I find with Adam, yeah, young players losing momentum through the crease is the worry stroke thought of the ball being hit back at them. Yeah, which I feel affects the momentum. Yeah, that's a confidence thing, I'm kind of guessing. Um, you know, the fear of having the ball whacked back at them. I reckon also that could be a practice in itself. Like tonight, yes, you are bowling. You're not going to be bowling at a batter, where you're going to be bowling at whatever targets or whatever, but you or a coach standing halfway down, and as soon as they release a ball, they become fielders. And so you're there just with a ball and a bat, but you don't do it every time. You don't hit the ball back at them every ball. So they've got to be ready. And when they're off balance because they're in the follow through, I just think that is the way the game is going. Bowlers become fielders as soon as they release the ball. It is more challenging because they're off target and stuff, but that is just the way the game is going. Just imagine that. So if a bowler is brilliant off their own bowling, both within a 10-meter kind of radius on the same side as their follow through, but maybe just the other side of the strip as well. All of a sudden, it allows cover and mid on, because cover they're going out there, they're saving that ball within that 10-meter radius, and mid on can go deeper because they're also really good at fielding just the other side of the strip. It gives the team some options. If you've got an absolute jet of a bowler who's great off their own bowling. Again, I think that's just the way the game is going. Wolfgang, that could well be a really interesting practice for you guys on Saturday, just to change it up. It might just be 6 balls, right? For 1 over, you got a chance. I'm going to whack this ball back at you or not. The very last stride of his action scene is, yeah, it had that impression. Although I just think you'd be able to tell that hyperextension from side on. Is that what you mean? The hyperextension from behind, it wasn't actually because he had that flex. Mitch Stark to Smith sort of crawling the first eight. Yeah. There's going to be some ridiculous catches and fielding off your own bowling. And actually, I think that bowlers have got to be really eager as fielders off their own bowling because it's their own bowling, right? It's their figures as well. Again, I reckon I'm doing putting together a document, the anatomy of a future fast bowler, and within that, there is some stuff in there about fielding off their own bowling. This is born out of that 8-year program that I've been sharing. I just think that there's some stuff in there that I think is really important to get out there. Right. Keep the questions coming. I need to get off of here in about 10 minutes. We've got another house viewing tomorrow. We've had an offer, but it's non-proceedable just yet. So that's the update from us. Had an offer on the house, not quite where we need it to be, but they can't proceed until they sell their house. So I'm just seeing Emily. She's just off one of her calls. If any of you is interested in mortgage advisory, Emily is your person. She's just come off a call with a client. This is what we do. The kids have gone to bed. Raf's been an absolute bugger tonight. So we've got the pavement monitor. Me and Em, more Em than me, I'll be honest, is having to interrupt her calls to go up to go and see Raf. And anyway, that's our update. Another viewing tomorrow. Utopia would be an offer, a cash offer, obviously, but any sort of offer that is proceedable straight away. Anyway, that's enough about us. I found a document here. And if you're not kind of logging stuff, I really urge you to, because some of this stuff, when you refer back to it, is really interesting. Yeah, Mick, it's an absolute shocker. I could talk to you about this house that we are currently living in. We basically rebuilt it. We didn't intend to, but we uncovered all sorts of absolute train crash. Nothing ever got picked up by the survey. Anyway, that's a story for another time, Mick. How do we know when you're working with groups, it doesn't matter what age group, how do we know what to work on? That's the question. Just one more question there, Adam. You mentioned 10 to 18-year-olds plan. How does this affect latecomers to the game? Kid at 14, is it just a game of playing catch up, work harder? I just think working smarter is the thing. I honestly believe, Adam, it is about how often can somebody train. Now, somebody who's come to the game late, there's a couple of thoughts, all right? One is you haven't wasted any deliveries. So the body is fresh. However, the body is not resilient to bowling, and that is really important because bowling stresses the body. I also think, though, if you mentioned 14, if that 14-year-old is a multi-sports person, moves well, runs well, balance, coordination, all that kind of stuff, I actually don't think is an issue at all. I do think that the same methods apply. So the same basics apply to that 14. I'm assuming you're talking about your son. Basics, running towards target, healthy action, strong physically, upright at ball release, stays upright through the crease, presents an upright action, follow through towards the target. I've seen him bowl and he's got a lot of the basics in place. Now I think it's just about bowling to make his body resilient. So I don't think that latecomers to the game they're not necessarily behind, if you see what I mean. As long as they've got a couple of things already in the bank, as in multi-sports. And even if they haven't, just observe what are you seeing? Does it look hard work? I've worked with some bowlers, and it just looks hard work in their run up. Now I will do everything that I can to help them move better. But with some people, some youngsters, it just takes a little bit longer, and everyone's different. So you could, I talked about 10 to 18-year-olds. That could be 14 to 22 easily. But it's like anything. The more reps you do, the more repetitions you do more than everybody else, actually you squeeze down that time as well. Does that make sense? Just give me a thumbs up or not. And we can have a chat about that. I think we're catching up in the new year, aren't we? Right. How do you know if a group of bowlers are improving? This was taken from a job interview notes that I found, my slides. So the question is, how do you know? Well, what's the starting point? What does success look like? So this was taken from. I was working with a professional group there, but you could apply it to any age group. So what does success look like in terms of a bowling group? Okay, who are the teams that generally win matches and win competitions? Let's say that is a success marker. And what's the difference between them and you? So you work out what your starting point is and you work out what success looks like. And once you've got those two things, and then you dig a bit deeper and you say, right, what skills do that successful group have? And it might just be something as simple as they take more wickets because they bowl more balls that challenge the stumps. Really simple. All right. At age group level, it can be as simple as that, I think. And you say, right, let's say it's a 20 over game. You can work out, because when you play against them, or you can find it out, they bowl at least 50% of balls that would have, if the batter didn't get in the way, they would hit the stumps. And then you compare that with what you are doing, and it might be 20%. You might be only bowling 20% of your deliveries as a bowling group that would have gone on to hit the stumps. So then all of a sudden, you work out, right, we're at 20%. Of every ball we bowl, 20% are going to hit the stumps. And then we know that success looks like 50%. Okay, so what are the bowlers doing? What are their actions like? Because bowling a line, that is a technical thing. That's mechanical. So you can do some work on that in the winter. You could say, right, this winter we are dedicating ourselves to bowling more balls that would challenge the stumps, the bowl straight. You don't have to tell the bowling group why, but you might like to. Right, we are going to be the team that bowls the most balls that would have gone on to hit the stumps. Not every ball's going to hit the stumps because the batter's in the way, but we are asking more questions of the batter. And once you've got starting point, what success looks like, you can then start filling the gaps. That is the point. Having one focus for a whole winter. Okay. Less is definitely more. And then you drill down even more, right? You have a look at, right, what's the bowling group? You might have 10, 12 like young age group cricketers in that bowling group. Helping each one of them, it might just be something as simple as their run-up alignment or their feet alignment in the crease. It might just be something as keeping them more upright at release, and then pulling down and keeping them moving towards a target. It might be working with a bowler that swings the ball massively, but they're unable to control their swing and they end up bowling it wide. So when you drill down and you start making it right, big picture, this is where we're at. this is where we need to be. You then drill down, what are the individuals within the group? What are they doing? And how can I help them? So at the end of the whole winter, the start of 2026, you test it. And that sheet that I use there, something like that. You can have competitions. This is just an example, by the way, but I am a massive fan of bowlers who challenge the stumps. Have competitions once a month, 6 balls. Who are the people that hit the stumps the most? Something. And if you've got an age group that actually really struggles, start with 6 stumps. Start with 6, and then have a competition where you gradually work it down to 3. Anyway, it got me really thinking, because in 2008, I was looking after the Gloucestershire team, and we dropped 10 bonus points across the whole season. Bowling bonus points are absolute gold dust. They are now, and they were then as well. And I had a very talented bowling group to look after. So we worked out, okay, we cannot afford that. What does the best look like? Add some structure, agree a vision. We're gonna be the fittest, so really dedicated and committed to being the fittest bowling group, of which we had 10 or 11 bowlers. We're going to train at high intensity. This is the kind of stuff that we talked about. And we're going to improve our skill. And then, you drill down even more. What does that look like as an individual? What does improving a skill or adding a skill look like to each individual? Because they're all slightly different, right? And then the how bit, hard work, annual planning. Everything we do is relevant to the vision. And the vision was having the group that took the most bowling bonus points the following year. Everything we do, look after loadings, look after the fine detail, individual programs, 5-over spells, high intensity or a skill session, measuring, marker sheets, beehives, exactly what I shared just on that live call there. So all of these things we implemented because our starting point was -10 from the year before, -10 bonus points. And we wanted to take the most bowling bonus points the following year. And then we've just pieced together the how, review, feedback, plan. And then in the next 2 years, 2 following seasons, we only dropped 4 points across the 2 seasons, which was brilliant. That was it, really. I just stumbled across this and I thought, right. I thought it was worth sharing. Any questions? Anything I can help you with? John's out in Sydney. My brother is now currently in Melbourne. I'm just looking at some photographs now. He's heading to Ayers Rock. Is there any problems that you currently have that we could share on this, that I can help with? Because I am here to help with solving problems. That is what I enjoy doing. Tell me. So I'll share quite a bit tonight. Unusual actions. That sheet, I'm going to be sharing that marking sheet. I'm going to be sharing it with paid subscribers, and then maybe adapting that sheet. Let's see. Anything from anybody? Otherwise, please come up with something. Because otherwise, I'll go do some hoovering or something. David Delaney just joined the the inner, the huddle inner circle. Now, David has the ability of bowling late 80s, 90 miles an hour. Adam, I've got a problem. Do I stare, watch the test, or am I sitting there waiting to be disappointed? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. People are saying we've got a hell of a chance in this one. We'll see. Okay, look, I'm going to head off. As always, I really appreciate all of your support. I really do. I never take any of that kind of stuff for granted. And I will continue to share as much as I can, but I want to make it relevant. All right. Here I am kind of sharing stuff that I enjoy talking about, but I want to make sure that it's relevant and linked to what everyone is doing here. Relevant age group, relevant standard, whether you're a parent, a coach, or a player. Okay. So never be shy of messaging me directly and saying, right, I'm just going through this at the moment. What do you think about this? I'm always happy to give an opinion, but I'm never one for saying you have to do this because that's not the way I work. But I'm more than happy always to give an opinion. All right. Okay. Happy? Hope so. I am planning on being on here next week as well. I've got 2 days at Merchant Taylor, Sunday, Monday. 2 whole days of one-to-ones, which I'm looking forward to. Wolfgang, always a pleasure. I will check out that video you shared with me of Rafi. And as soon as you've heard anything about you coming over New Year, you must let me know. Right. Love you all. Have a great evening.